All right, everybody, let's do a call to order. We're going to get going. We have a packed agenda. We want to make sure we get everybody a good time. One thing we're going to implement is an actual roll call of the members of the ROAP. You know, we have three different memberships within the Regional Opioid Abatement Council. We have the voting members, the advisory members, and then the subject matter experts. We just want to capture those because we've been struggling for our minutes. So first roll call we will do for our voting members. So do we have Larimer County government?
Yes, we do.
All right.
Larimer County Commissioner Jenny Shabby now.
Wonderful. City of Fort Collins.
President.
City of Loveland.
Amy Phillips here.
Thank you, Amy. Wonderful to have you. Town of Wellington.
Brian Mason here.
Wonderful. Mayor Pro Tem, great to have you. Do we have the town of Estes Park?
Hi, Trustee Cindy Youngland.
Hi, Trustee. Wonderful to have you. And then the Board of Health, and I, Tom Gonzalez, is representing the Board of Health. So we've got everybody, voting members. That's wonderful. Advisory members, we do have Marshall here. Thank you, President. Human Services, we have Vanessa. Anyone else? We've got Jessica Plummer from Behavioral Health Services. Anyone online that represents the advisory members? Hearing none, we'll move to subject matter experts. I don't see one around the table. That's the subject matter expert. Anybody online that's a subject matter expert representing that group? Okay, roll call. We're ready to convene. Do we have any public comment from anyone here or online to present to the Regional Opioid Abatement Council? Seeing none, we will close public comment. All right, item number 3, moving along, approval of the January 22nd, 2026 meeting minutes.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the minutes as presented in the packet.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second here by City of Fort Collins. Any conversation around the minutes? Hearing and seeing none. Does anybody oppose that motion? Hearing none, that passes unanimously. Okay, we're going to get into item 4, which is the big one, grant administration, which is the heart of what we do here at the council. Our first one is a 6-month report approval from the CSU Prevention Research Center. Before I turn it over to the wonderful Dr. Nathan Briggs, I want to make sure I clean up any confusion. We had Dr. Briggs here last month, and he was talking about their previous year's grant because it had to be extended due to school district's timing. So this is the current grant going on right now, and he's given a 6-month update on that. I know it's confusing, but we've been trying to work within those constraints so they can do the great work. So I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, so last month got to talk about a lot of great results of a whole year's worth of efforts. Had some really nice program impact results to talk about, which was fun. For this 6-month report, not so many of those, but a lot of progress. So right now we're in the middle of the implementation phase. So we'll have all of those fun stats and results and program impacts to talk about in another 6 months. So we are right on track to meet the project goals. We can go to the next slide. These were the 3 goals. I'll talk about these bullets here in a second, so we can go to the next slide. The first goal for this project was to sustain the Blues program. Actually, it's really more about sustaining and growing the Blues program because we continue to build the capacity around the 3 school districts to implement this program. We have now a trainer of facilitators that's on board. We trained 11 new facilitators in Thompson School District this past 6 months. We've been able to implement in 7 new cohorts so far, and are expecting to complete 17 total for the year. You multiply that by about average 6 youth we're going to be able to serve over 100 youth that are in the school district with the Blues program this year. And one interesting kind of side note on this is that we're also working with Douglas County and some school districts in Southeast Colorado. And we're starting statewide learning communities where all of these facilitators are getting together to talk about wins and challenges and learn from each other's practice over the next 6 months. So that starts in May and will continue into a fourth year if we are approved for funding. Next slide. So the second goal was to sustain the additional prevention programs that we have been implementing over and above the Blues program. In Larimer and Clear School District, we're implementing the Proud and Empowered program. We have an implementation plan that's established. We have trained multiple staff, and that program just started a couple of days ago. So we'll have some results to talk about at the year in 6 months. In Thompson School District, they pivoted, even though the eCheckup to Go program was showing some really nice results in correcting norms. Thompson wanted to move in a different direction and implement another program very similar. This one is out of Stanford University. It's called the Healthy Futures Program. One of the reasons why they like this program is because it's free, which is going to increase the sustainability of this program. So we are going to work with Thompson School District on evaluating the effectiveness of that program that started in January. One of the things that Thompson is finding is that they have also implemented vape detection mechanisms in their bathrooms in the school district, and very few kids are now being caught vaping in Thompson School District right now, according to the health folks. So we may pivot in a presumed year 4 to an approach that is separate from this, in addition to this social norms. Remembering that this was for, it's like a justice diversion program. So kids who would not, or a suspension diversion program. So kids who would get caught, instead of being suspended from school, go through these programs. But they're finding that there are fewer and fewer kids that are getting caught in Thompson. So we may pivot in the 4th year. In Estes Park, some really great stuff going on. They are a district that is implementing, at least in the context of this project, they're implementing universal content, social emotional learning content for all youth in the district. So all 956 youth. And then for those youth who are at greater risk or higher needs, they're also implementing a selective preventive intervention that takes the form of a parenting program called Guiding Good Choices. So we trained up some facilitators, both Spanish-speaking and English-speaking facilitators in the fall, and we just got done piloting the Guiding Good Choices program, like literally a couple of weeks ago. And in talking to the superintendent at Estes Park last week, she said the program went great. And so we'll have some data to analyze and report back in 6 months on other cohorts. One of the interesting things is that the last session of this Guiding Good Choices program is kind of a family celebration kind of deal. And everybody had so much fun at the family celebration that they forgot to distribute the post-tests. So now we're trying to go back and mail the post-test to the family so that they can mail it back. So hopefully we have some good data to report. But at least anecdotally, it went really well. All right, goal 3 was to sustain and develop new professional development for the prevention practitioners across Larimer County. We developed 10 more hours of e-courses that are open access. We also delivered 2.5 hours of in-person PD on topics that were generated by one in Thompson School District, one in Estes Park. And so we have in year 3 already completed 24 e-programs. Well, we have a total, over the 3 years of 24 e-programs that the school districts and prevention practitioners across the state can access. And then the last one is just this is the dashboard for those e-courses, and that's the team at the Prevention Research Center. I will let you try to figure out which one is me. So, any questions?
Questions? Yes.
So thanks for the great update. I'm curious, when we have all three districts working together and it sounds like they're finding fits of different programs for their staff. And you know, we're all working on, there's a youth mental health task force and other things. Do you feel like the different pathways or different programs are implementing are similar enough, overlapping enough that it'd be complementary, or maybe taking away from that kind of joint task force or work together, three districts trying to have, you know, leveraging resources and trying to work together for youth mental health? And I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I think all of this work is really complementary and really driven by the school district's stated needs. And we are really trying to be aware of all of the other work that is going on around the county in behavioral health and substance use prevention. And so what these programs that we have been identified to address identified gaps in what's being implemented in the school district. So I think they really do fit a complementary role to the existing work that's going on.
Great, thanks.
Other questions? Make sure anyone online, I'm acknowledging them. Right. Hearing no more questions, do we have a motion to accept the 6 month and move forward with administering those funds for the next 6 months?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair, as you stated.
Got that motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Rupa. Any further conversation regarding the motion? Hearing none, does anybody oppose that motion? Hearing none, that passes unanimously. I do have, while you're here, we do have an item. Last month, if you all recall, Nate, on the previous year, asked for an extension regarding $14,000 that would be implemented. Was that with Poudre School District?
That was with Poudre. Yep.
With Poudre. But there was no clarity on how long that would be extended and used. John Abbas, who takes care of all our granting, did reach out to the team and they're wanting that till December. Is that correct?
Yeah. The trainer of facilitators training would start now. It just takes a while for them to go through the whole process of leading 2 cohorts and having their videos sent in to the developer.
But the reason I bring it up, just making sure for transparency purposes, that's okay with the ROAC.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, Nate. Okay, now we're going to tee us up for the grant administration B portion. We're getting now to year 4. It's hard to believe, folks. We started this in July of 2022, and here we are on year 4 of funding proposals. We got 2 items. One, first put together by John Voss and others. Janelle definitely helping out. You've got the part work that Jared Olson's been working on as well, where we've got the color of the recovery, prevention, harm reduction, treatment. That's all broken down on how we percentage earmarked, penciled in funds that we have to give to the state that Janelle reports to the COAG. What John did is also just kind of put it into a larger bucket because this gets confusing. We basically said, well, we want a percentage in prevention. But the way the state sets it up, there's so many subcategories within prevention. And what's also complicating a little bit, Janelle's had several phone calls with the folks over at the COAC, and there are some of those subcategories that they're saying, that doesn't totally align with what they're doing in their totality. So what you'll see is proposals being broken up into 4 different areas, and that's because of the request of the state. Janelle, anything to add, or am I not reflecting that?
Spot on.
So you may have seen somebody that would do, I'm throwing the ones out, J2. Well, they may say we want J2, J4, and H1. That's what all you're doing. So that helps us, John, kind of breaking that up on how we allocated funds by the color. Any questions on this tool for us? Yes.
If there's a, grant proposal that, has multiple categories or colors coming forward that have certain amounts, and my question is for staff, how complicated is that to track those varying amounts within those grants if we get lots of, future applications that have maybe a handful of grant, maybe they have 3, and this one's 10,000, this one's 50,000, and I'm just throwing out numbers, and is that gonna be, a little more complex and complicated? That we hit that way, that's question.
Great question.
It's more complicated, but it's a requirement
Yeah.
from the COAG. So they're really looking at it more closely this year, and you can tell they really want it broken up by the scope of work. And so it's something that's why I think it's a good idea to have this as an overall kind of summary. But if you all are approving the applications based on what they put in there and the uses that they put in there, I'm just going to send that to the state.
And I knew it was required, but I'm thinking ahead as we are sitting and looking at, developing rubrics or things like that, and how we can help not add to the work for staff to have to keep track of all these things, and how we could, also help us keep track of certain areas that maybe are filling up with that grant or those grants. And so I'm just thinking ahead as how we help also, not increasing their staff, but I know we have to, but also, we might like this grant proposal, but it puts us over in this one bucket, like way over. So I'm just curious about that.
Yes.
One thing, and I know of at least one example that we'll run across today, there may be more. They created a budget, but they listed 4 or 5 that will not go with the COAC. We have to pick one, or they have to split the budget out. Even though it may all be, it could all be recovery, but if it's part B2, B4, B6, but they combine them into one budget,
Yeah.
the COAC won't let us do that. We will have to ask them to split your budget out appropriately, or pick the one that really represents the best one.
And I knew that, and that's another thing I thought, we're gonna have to get a little more, even discerning or
Sure.
particular with us. So thank you for that, Mr. Chair.
Oh, those are great questions. Any other questions? The second tool is, thank you to Heather Gilmore here, putting together a spreadsheet for us. She did email that out to you yesterday, a little after 4 o'clock. Each voting member has that spreadsheet. I encourage you to log into your one, like I'm on mine, the Tom Gonzalez one, and it'll show right off the bat their first grant proposal. It'll talk about how much their total requested amount, what was it last year that they received? So is there a difference? Because we know there's less money this year. And then what is their requested approval uses? So you'll see if there's multiple subcategories, and then place for you to take notes and those kind of things. So, and then you can, there's also recommended parts where if you want to recommend for funding or not, so that's up to you. But that's a tool to keep your notes as we go along. Because the goal here, of course, is get the money flowing out like we have in the past as soon as possible to those targeted abatement programs that we support and we know have been proven, but also look at this holistically. And so next month, we're going to have another 4 or 5 more folks applying. Either they were here already and they're reapplying, or there's a couple new applicants. So those are things to consider. So any questions on the spreadsheet for Heather? Heather, did I miss anything on the spreadsheet?
No, just a little bit of a clarification. The proposed budget allocation for the grantees here, it's the 2026 funded at the 2025% levels. So that is the recommendation for 2026, but just based off of 2025.
Perfect. Thanks for the clarification. Any other questions or on that? All right. We'll move to our first one, funding proposal, the Butler Institute. while they're coming up, we have asked everybody to limit their presentation to a number of slides and less than 5 minutes, 7 minutes. So, and we try to keep that so everybody gets a fair opportunity, so we're not running long. So
Yes.
I'll turn that over to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep this to 5 minutes. Thank you for having me today. Our proposal is intended, the purpose of our proposal is to help advance the 2 recommendations that were accepted from this by this ROAC from our opioid abatement work group recommendations. And those 2 were a grantee annual meeting and a cross-site evaluation. And we've, in this proposal, combined them, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. So next slide, please. So the overview, really, for this upcoming year, our proposal is to facilitate the development of an evaluation plan to support intentional decision-making by the ROAC, taking into account all the community needs. So the first objective is to engage everyone, the grantees, our work group, and this ROAC in a pathways to change process. I'll talk about that in a minute. To partner with grantees to align existing evaluation efforts with pathway to change outcomes. We, above all else, do not want to create any additional administrative burden. We know that the grantees do evaluation already. We want to leverage that good work to create this cross-site evaluation. Then we will meet individually with grantees to better understand the current evaluation efforts and how to, again, leverage that data to inform a cross-site evaluation. So we'll have a data mapping process, a data analysis plan out of that. Our third step is to facilitate what we call a ripple effects mapping process, which is really a qualitative process to understand how programs intersect out in the community. I'll talk about that in a second. Finally, then to co-develop this evaluation plan with all the stakeholders and to continually gather feedback from the ROAC, ideally on a quarterly basis, however the scheduling of the ROAC allows. Okay, next. So the next slide, these are 2 examples of what we call pathway to change. Some of you may know it as a theory of change. Another version of this that's a little bit more linear is called the logic model. But in the end, the idea is to be able to identify the outcomes that are of interest and how you get there. So in a pathway to change process, it accommodates a little bit more of the messiness. It's a little bit higher level than a traditional logic model. But really in this exercise, what we would ask is for about an hour of the ROAC's time to be able to identify a long-term project vision and the long-term outcomes. So those would come from the ROAC, and this was based on feedback we received from the work groups. So I appreciate that feedback. And then we would facilitate a process with the grantees. We anticipate probably like a half-day or 3-hour session to fill out these other spheres, which you can see, which are like, what do we know? Who are we impacting? What do we want to change? So the ROAC would identify these longer-term, like broader vision outcomes. These identify these shorter-term, more immediate outcomes. And then these other bubbles talk about how those things connect. And so in the end, in the packet, you'll see in our proposal, we included an example of this work. I didn't include it here, but it's basically a picture. And it shows a roadmap, essentially, of all of these pieces. And that serves as the foundation for the evaluation plan. So next slide, please. So after that is done, again, we would collaborate with individual grantees, meet one-on-one with each grantee organization to understand what they're already doing. We fortunately have some idea of what they're doing based on our past technical assistance work, and then develop a plan for data management. So what are they already collecting? How does that relate to the outcomes? Keep it straightforward, really accessible. In the past, when we've done this, like something as simple as a shared Google Drive is really the way to go, not creating something, big and fancy. Nobody wants that. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. So the third step in this process is what we call a ripple effects mapping activity. And really, this is about a 60 to 90-minute activity where we would, again, pull together grantees. And the idea behind this is to show how all the different organizations intersect with each other out in the world. Because we know that this is overlapping, but it's really an opportunity for organizations to see it in real time and to acknowledge the really the great work that's being done. So the way that this works is we have an introduction and a brief overview. There's about 10 minutes. This appreciative inquiry interview is where we take folks in pairs or in threes, depending on the crowd size. And they basically talk about, they're given a few prompts and then talk about the work that they're doing. And then the group comes together, those smaller groups share out with the larger group what they've learned. And while this process, this share out process is going on, we will facilitate the actual map. So we walk away with a visual of how these organizations are actually interconnecting out in the community. And then the final product would be a more polished version of that and a report. But in the end, the last slide, we would put all of these pieces together. And then the final product would be an evaluation plan for the ROAC to approve, weigh in. Hopefully by the time we got to the end of the year, there'd be enough feedback loops in place that everyone would be on the same page. And then we would provide that plan to the ROAC. Am I under 5? So anyway, yeah, and we review the process with the ROAC on a quarterly basis. And the work group that we have in place would be instrumental in helping to guide this work. So yeah.
Questions? And I do want to recognize we have our Secretary Gordon Blotfund here, who's one of our subject matter experts. So thank you for joining us. Yes.
I do have a question. Is this is a question for the council, I guess, is this, if you move forward with this, is this something that is required for all grantees or optional to volunteer?
Thoughts?
I mean, I would say optional, but, so how many participants would you want?
So in a perfect world, all the grantees would participate. We would have a representative or ideally like 2 representatives from each organization in this pathway to change process. And by the way, if that's just like one model, we can do other things like, a lot more traditional logic model. But the idea behind that is to get the input from the grantees. Like we wouldn't want to come in as evaluators and be like, here you go, right? Like they need to participate in this process. So that like 3-hour-ish process is also the opportunity for grantees to like share what they know. And resources and all the things that we had provided in our recommendations. That would be the first like time asked. The second would be probably about another hour-ish, maybe some follow-up to do some of this data mapping, like understanding how people are already collecting data and all those types of things. About an hour, maybe I'll call it 2, so we say ripple effects mapping is probably about another 2 hours of grantee time.
Yeah, I was trying to take notes as you were going. You heard about something about a half-a-day workshop,
Yeah.
one-on-one meetings, and a 60 to 90-minute.
Yes.
So it's at least 3 touch points
Yes.
with at least 2 people from each organization.
In a perfect world.
And if everybody was required to participate.
Correct. Yeah, and that's a good
Plus the
question.
work group that meets outside of this group, you
Yes.
said would participate, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, developing a cross-site evaluation is a commitment.
Yeah.
That's
That's why I'm asking if it's required volunteers, if it's voluntary, I don't know how many people have opted in for the technical assistance.
We had, I believe it was, 5-ish.
So
So there you
maybe
go.
less than half.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like we understand, like, we do statewide cross-site evaluation. I understand the time commitment and the burden that this puts on grantees. And so our aim is to just make it almost like seamless with work that they're already doing.
But there's no stipends included in your budget for the.
There's not, but we could revisit that. That's a good idea.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point that Jessica made, and then also about incentives, because I would say this, as I just came back from the long conference in Washington DC, this environment of constricting resources and kind of increasing pressures, that there's time is very, very valuable. So that I think incentives or carrots would be really important. So, and I'm wondering how, as we bring all this back, how quickly do you think this would help facilitate the changes we're hoping to have for us as a as a council to kind of use this information to help guide? Do you know what I mean? How?
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, we're kind of getting into evaluating things now.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think we need this tool or this information to be able to, for years ongoing, so I'm just wondering about that. kind of
Yeah, I mean,
timeline.
depending on how quickly we can launch this, we can probably start collecting even just like some test data and like testing this whole thing by the end of the year, probably 18 months before we can present some data to you that's showing like these consistent outcome measures across the grantees or however it looks, might be like within funding buckets or, I mean, I have this vision that it's accurate or not, but like across all the grantees that have like these shared outcomes. And again, at the end of the day, like those outcomes have to be meaningful to this group in order to be able to make informed decisions. So that's some of the ask also of this group's time to help in, you know, guide that overarching vision and those longer term outcomes. That's what it boils down to. And I mean, what that looks like, again, is we need feedback from grantee, from all the stakeholders about what that looks like. Is it some sort of like a dashboard report? Like, what will that look like? That will be helpful to you all. That's the aim.
Thank you.
Sure.
I want to add with our document here, with the sheriff's office, there wasn't the extension of the 6 months, so there was $140,000 that was sitting there. That's been through here again. So the overall reduction now is just under 6%. My question to you is, according to what we earmarked on this for the Butler Institute for the good work you're proposing, with that reduction, it would be, oh goodness, where is it? Yeah, that's right. It would be 70,500. You applied for 74,983, a difference of $4,480 that exceeded what was kind of earmarked. Could you do that work at the $70,503?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we'll some of that we built into the budget, some wiggle room around like supplies, around travel, local travel. So that maybe like we have one facilitator instead of two. Maybe we do more Zoom calls with our grantees and, you know, yeah, I think we built in a little bit of wiggle room there.
And then what I'm hearing is this work that you would propose would be then working towards year 5 funding. We've had that already for year 5 because we're right in the thick of year 4. Okay, year 5 on.
Yeah.
Other questions?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just curious from a grantee perspective, how burdensome this would be.
I mean, we do have some grantees in the work group. I don't think anybody loves seeing the evaluator show up. Say, we're gonna do a cross-site evaluation. I just like been doing this a while. And I don't think anybody loves it. But again, it's show the value in it. Like it's on us to show everyone what the value is in this sort of activity. And again, it's trying to show a consistent, measurable impact across, because right now all the grantees have different evaluations that they're doing and they're showing that individual work. The aim of this is to show the kind of the collective impact. So I don't know how to answer that question except to say I'm sure it's not.
Trustee Young, then I see your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I guess I look at if we don't get a lot of participation, I mean, to be putting this money out for this evaluation, we have to have those to participate. And if the participation level is very low, obviously, I think that's going to affect our outcome. Is there, and then, you know, everybody's used a lot of their time and resources to produce something that may be not quite showing the whole picture. I just, and I don't know how to, you know, what to recommend to the grantees to participate. I mean, has there been any feelers out to the participants or the grantees right now to see if they would participate? Are we going to put a you know, a little buffer there, you know, if there's only two that will participate, we need to revisit this. Those are just some of my questions.
Thank you.
Other questions?
So, the $140,000 that you mentioned if we make this a requirement, for grantees to participate, and then make it a requirement for Butler to provide like a stipend, could we use some of that 140,000 for this? Like, is that extra 140,000 that's going back into the pot?
It's been put back
Okay,
in
it's been, okay,
to get us to,
so we're still gonna be short then?
yes, correct. Thank you for your question. Yes. Yes, because the less, I know the funding will be less as we go out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, to your point, Cindy, it's a good point. You know, again, it's just showing some value add. It is a commitment, and if the ROAC at this time thinks that this is not the right, you know, I totally understand. At the same time, I know that part of the objective is to figure out, you know, how to allocate resources in the world of diminishing resources. So the aim is to provide additional data to make informed decisions. So, you know, there are this is one approach, you know, as an evaluation, there can be others. We could take, I mean, as an alternative, we could take it back to the work group, brainstorm some other ideas. You know, I don't want to put anyone on the spot to make like a big decision like this in the moment. So.
Mhm.
Well, what would we like to do here? Because we do have 4 others. We could table this, we could approve it, there's several options.
I appreciate the work. I think it's really, really important that we work on something going forward. And I kind of looked this over the weekend. I think I might personally, even though I'm on the group, need more time to just think about this. And mostly because I'm looking about, I know it takes time to change things, but I'm thinking about the timeline and what we could do differently. And I think Jessica made a really great point that kind of struck me about, you know, where we're asking grantees, but just thinking about that.
Yes,
And I wonder if we could add like a minute to each of the upcoming presentations, just to ask them like their feedback.
Sure.
So I guess I'll ask if we can pause on this and maybe revisit it after we hear the other feedback from the other groups.
Okay.
And then we can maybe make a decision after we hear the presentations of the groups if we're gonna add and ask their feedback. Maybe we'll have a little time to sit on that and then we can make a motion about this then.
So there's an option. I do see Trustee Youngland's hand up.
Yeah, I didn't know if we needed a motion to, you know, table this to the end of the presentations. If so, I was going to make that motion. I think it would be valuable to ask each of the presenters if they would be, if they felt they could, you know, be involved in this after their presentation. I think that's a great idea, but I would like to table it till the end as well.
So is that a motion, a second, or?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion. Just making sure I'm clear, Trustee Young, that was a motion to table it till we get at the end where Red Point Center is done?
Correct.
Okay, there's a second. Further conversation? Hearing none? All those that favor that indicate by aye.
Aye.
Does anybody not support that? Okay, that passes unanimously. Can you hang around for a little?
I can stay until 3, and then if there are, I'm sorry, I didn't plan
No.
for that, but I can stay until 3, so then if there's follow-up, perhaps I can reach out to you.
Thank you.
Is that okay?
All right, we're moving along. Northern Colorado Health Network. There you go.
Hi, everybody. There's a lot of us up here for different reasons. So hi, everybody. The successes and challenges over the past year Our harm reduction services have remained despite federal challenges. The current landscape right now with the executive orders against harm reduction have been extraordinarily challenging, therefore limiting some of what we can do, and we have persisted. We have added Hep C treatment through our partnership with Family Medicine Center over the last year. We're really excited to see that continue growing as a buffet of services for our folks. We are fully staffed with our Connect team, and that allows for lots of referrals and resources and anonymous low barrier therapy. We have wonderful wellness programming. We have a new cohort training program with a series of 5 new hire trainings, behavioral health copay support, focus on all staff wellness, and regular supervisions in many different formats. And our therapy team is just killing it. They've had over 220 encounters with mental health professionals with our folks, and 54 brief interventions. So super exciting. Challenges. Again, the attack on harm reduction, very significant. I don't think it's a secret to anyone in this room that staff leaves have been really challenging. I know that there's a few other offices that have been experiencing the same thing. So we're struggling with our staffing. We're working on building consistency and trust with our participants. We did have someone go out on maternity leave, and so we had 3 months where we weren't able to engage in those relationships through Connect, and just navigating the political landscape for federal and municipal levels, municipal specifically in the Loveland area. Next slide, please. These are our proposed metrics. We're going to continue doing the work that we've always done for you all. The difference with this proposal is that we're requesting a little bit more money in light of the landscape, but instead you're going to get double of the outcomes. So this is double of what we've really kind of provided to you in the past. We're still going to tell you the lives that we've saved, the referrals that we're doing, the education that we're doing, and all of the ways in which our interventions are effectively meeting the needs of the larger Larimer County community. Next slide, please.
Okay, and then these are some of our metrics for the behavioral health side, the therapy side, the Connect side. My glasses are not doing what they used to do, so that's why I brought this. So yeah, we are anticipating to exceed our numbers that we got last year. So over 250 unique encounters with people that are using drugs, and with 100 of those being more engaged interventions. So like maybe a referral to Matt or just talking a little bit more therapeutically. And then speaking of Matt, we're anticipating about 25 referrals to the Matt services. So about what we were able to deliver, but I think we're going to be able to go even deeper this grant cycle.
Awesome. Thank you. As if we're talking about our successes and challenges, and Rebecca, we're talking about Connect, and I'm Danny, and I'll be talking about our wellness program. So that's why each of us are up here to talk about the different levels. As you all know, we have many layers with many different budgets, trying to create many different interfaces to bring wellness to our community, from harm reduction to treatment, all the way over to how we take good care of our staff. And so we've had great luck. Thank you all so much for the last year. We'd like to continue the work. We are reducing our budgets in the wellness category and still wanting to aim to meet targets of professional development. Our cohorts are up and running and functioning for new hires. We also have leadership and mentorship at a level that it has not been for us before. We'll have wellness benefits. Our behavioral health copay support has been invaluable fully for us staff to maintain successful and continue in the work. And individual and group supervision will continue. That has done monthly to the prevention team, weekly to behavioral health, and on demand as needed, as we have done many this week, for example. Though there's many consults every day, and that's how we stay well in the work, because we believe in collaboration. So thank you all. We were quick.
We tried to be speedy.
Okay. Questions, and you all have it in real quick in the spreadsheet. You'll see that each proposal is $409 less than last year, so they did come in right on target. And the major portion is harm reduction, H9. There's a piece that's C15, connection to care, and K2 for training. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Commissioner.
So this goes back to our earlier conversation at the beginning. And this is not on you, I'm just trying to clarify. Great presentation, I appreciate the work. the H9 in the requested approval out is 258,700, but when I look at this, it's, the amounts are, 197 and 209, so that puts us over that category amount, and that's what I was kind of referring to at the
Yeah.
beginning.
Right.
And so, I'm concerned about that because we have to adjust all the other categories.
Yeah.
And so, that's why I asked that before.
I see what you keep on my.
I'm sorry, I'm so exhausted after being gone for 5 in DC, it just drained me, so I apologize, but that is of what I was asking, so I don't know how, am I understanding that correctly?
They were the only ones in harm reduction last year.
Yeah,
So this year, Yarrow has requested under harm reduction as well. So that's why you're seeing that overage in the harm reduction bucket.
but there's still. So they're asking how there's an overage, but as I understand, right now, this category right here, reduction's only the,
197.
Yeah.
And just keep in mind that the state is okay with us moving in between buckets. It's just our best guess.
right, and so what I'm saying is right now, that puts it's like 50,000 over, we have another possible grantee, and we'd have to shift everything right now at the beginning. And so, we kind of with the same buckets as last year, so and that's what I'm not trying to throw a wrench in already, but if we're gonna over prescribe that, or not, I don't mean that in a negative way, if we're gonna over prescribe that bucket, we're gonna have to go ahead and adjust the others, and then will that impact the other grantees? And so I just, unless I'm not understanding, I mean, this is kind of why I've asked that before, so.
Exactly right.
So, but what I'm hearing from you, Janelle, is that we're not tied to like only spending in 2026 $197,000, right? And so I think after we make approvals for the rest of the funding, then I think we can go back and adjust these numbers, right?
But we might have over prescribed in one area that all the other areas that people have come through thinking they were going to apply for certain amounts, they'll have to reduce. And we have made a decision at the beginning to move all of that money into this area right away. And then the other areas would all have to significantly shift their spending. And we can move that around, but I mean, is that a decision we want to make right now is to move? If there's another grantee that's going to ask, then we will be, shifting possibly 50,000 to 100,000 in that category.
So on that spreadsheet,
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
as long as you're staying within that budget, if you're awarding way over what Heather put on these spreadsheets, then we would run into that issue. But if you're awarding what she has on that spreadsheet, then it can all be moved around.
Trustee Young does have a raise.
Let me have one question, and Trustee Young, let me get to you. Am I correct? I look at your other item, C15, which is connections to care. And last year you spent 157,000. There's 148,000 in there, and you're only asking for 78. So are you shifting money from C15 to H9 with your proposal?
Essentially, yes. So we know that sustainability is a large concern of the Larimer ROAC, and we understand and respect that. Currently, sustainability for harm reduction does not exist. And I don't mean that to sound alarmist, but it is the truth. We are ineligible to apply for federal funds. And so we had to have internal conversations of essentially losing portions of the Connect program and training up our MSWs into that program to try to preserve staffing and services.
Wonderful. Okay. Trustee Youngland, I understand your hands up.
Yes, you touched on that, Chair. I was wondering, it would be helpful, since I have limited screens here to see all the information. I was wondering what they had last year, and you touched on that. I was concerned that maybe that shift did go more into that harm reduction, as I felt that was quite high. But like you said, as long as we're not over our budget, we can then move things around at the end. I understand that. So just if somebody could go over what areas they were in last year and the amounts, that would be helpful for me. I apologize.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, already we're kind of pushing this back and, or taking more time. And I don't know if I feel comfortable. I understand and I appreciate that it's a question why they're shifting that. But I don't know if I'm ready to shift buckets and amounts or overprescribe a bucket. Or maybe go and do the requested budget only. We can maybe improve, like these are the buckets, but maybe we don't have the amounts till we get through all of these, and then we know. And we're afraid that we're going to shift a bunch of buckets, and then we will have one that we won't have. Well, it's like musical chairs, there's gonna be one that's gonna be left out at the end. If that makes sense, and we're worried about what that one that's left
Sure.
out.
No. I think in this case, though, it's very specific because C15 was only in CHN last year. And so they're basically saying by the change of the landscape, the federal is moving some of the C15 into harm reduction because that's where they're struggling. If this was to move another bucket where other grantees, I would have definitely agreed with you in this situation. It's their own, there are two buckets they've identified and they're moving it within those two that they have been housed in there. Does that make, I'm making it sense?
So, do we know, so are we going to move out of the connections to care the amount to cover but would that even leave enough for Yarrow Collective? Or are you saying that you guys are very best with the budget allocation, so if we just.
So on that spreadsheet that she sent, it'll show you who's asking for over the target amount. And so if you want to ensure that they're on track with what they received last year, less 6%, you look at that target on the spreadsheet and only award that much.
And I would say the Yarrow Collective came in $66,000 over what they were. So that's, I think it could be an issue when we get to them.
Yeah.
Because they do have H1. But yeah, they're overall, they got 4 buckets and they're over 66,000, almost 67.
So I go back to my, knowing that, but we're making a choice right now with just the the second presentation. So I don't know how the council feels about that. I think,
No.
I'm thinking maybe I'd like to think about all the presentations, maybe say, yes, we approve these uses, but maybe we don't approve the exact amounts till another meeting or later.
Okay.
But that's just me. I don't know how the rest feel.
Yeah, I mean, I'm less concerned with the buckets. What is our deadline for making these approvals?
There is
I didn't think there was.
no deadline per se. It wouldn't be good if we waited too long, but they don't have a deadline.
The state doesn't have a deadline for us. What we do have a deadline is the current contracts are gonna run out and then there'll be a gap.
And they run out in April, like April 1st.
The every contract's there.
Yeah.
The people we're seeing today end March 31st, with the exception of Red Point, which ends April 30. So you have it, we're a whole month early for the network today. Their contract doesn't run out till March 31st.
Right, so if we delay this to the next meeting, we don't approve the money, that's giving them like a week notice, I guess, is what my concern is.
Or even if we did, they just wouldn't have much time to.
Make adjustments.
Yeah.
Yeah, good points. Other points online, Mayor Pro Tem Mason, want to make sure I'm not missing you.
No, I think I'm fine with what the commissioners proposed as far as that goes. I am kind of concerned about the timelines for getting these things approved, but yeah, yeah.
And when you say commissioner, so holding up till we go through everyone today?
It sounds like we could at least wait till the end of the day, to the
Yeah.
commissioner's point.
Yeah, sure.
These
Yeah.
presentations before voting.
Does that work for everyone?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Yarrow Collective, speaking of the Yarrow Collective. So while they're coming up, you'll see in the spreadsheet, they do have 4 areas and requested last year they were budgeted, or funded 294,000 some change. They did come in over, asking for nearly $361,000. So there we go. Turn it over to you.
Thank you all for having us back. This is my last meeting with you all. As Yarrow's executive director, our new director is here shadowing, so I'm very excited for you to meet them. Just to touch on a couple of our 2025 numbers to celebrate our work last year. Across all our programming, we reached 7,500 duplicated participants and just over 2,500 unduplicated. And of those folks, 94% of them had some kind of marginalized identity or were unhoused or incarcerated at the time of us supporting them. So we're super proud of the work we did last year and are excited to share with you what we have in mind for this coming year. Getting right into it with our first objective, this is pretty similar to 2025. We want to sustain the peer supporter availability for one-on-one and group peer support, especially in our drop-in space, which we got to open last year from y'all's funds. Harm reduction education, resource navigation, and on-site mobile overdose reversal medication, as well as peer supervision. Since we started our drop-in space with the grant funds that we received last year, we reached 260 duplicated participants and 45 unduplicated. So that's been a really great space for community to come find connections and build support networks with each other. Then next slide.
So objective 2 would be to continue what we did in 2025, which is to coordinate and host 10 arts and outdoor pro-social events targeted for people who are unhoused and with opiate use disorder or substance use disorder to strengthen community-based support. In 2025, I reached 420 people through these events. These groups have been really profound and really useful in community finding acceptance and belonging.
And next slide into objective 3, supporting people in treatment and recovery. We received a sub-award from the Larimer County Jail to support with housing stipends for folks exiting incarceration. We kicked that program off last year and are hoping to continue it in a slightly more smaller way with $50,000 of our budget to support a minimum of 25 individuals with OUD or co-occurring SUD mental health conditions with their reentry. And in 2025, through that sub-award we received, we provided 42 people with housing support, and it was just really beautiful to see the huge impact that had in our community, helping folks prevent them from becoming reincarcerated or prevent them from becoming unhoused. So that's new in our proposal this year, but not new to our programming since we received that sub-award last year. And did you want to share a little about one participant?
Yeah, one participant, because of these funds, they were able to sustain their housing, and in turn, their child was able to stay in their care and not go into foster care. So these funds have been really, really useful in providing that that transitional care as people exit incarceration.
Then next slide for objective 4. This is similar to last year, just ensuring that our staff have the best professional development and continuing education to stick with the fidelity of peer support practices and offering the best care that we can. And then our last objective here, I believe on the next slide. There's 2 more objectives.
Yeah, so this one would be to increase awareness of recovery peer support services in the community and reduce stigma as it relates to opiate use disorder and recovery treatment options through educational campaigns. In 2025, we distributed 800 printed
printed materials, and our social media campaign as well was really, really successful.
And then on the next slide, we'll just see our overall program request across all of those objectives and then the total request to meet all program needs for this year. So any questions?
Questions? So compared to the increase, 67,000, is that primarily in H1 where you weren't last year in it? That's the H1 harm reduction efforts.
Yeah, so if you all are looking for budget cuts, we would probably look at cutting down back on some of that professional development category that we had about $10,000 in. And then we would also probably cut back the amount of housing stipends that we can provide. So that was a $50,000 line item that we could reduce just to support fewer people or take out if you all needed to make some hard decisions today.
So it looks like the budget shortfall though is 67,000, right? If I'm reading that correctly.
Say that again.
Am I reading it correctly on the spreadsheet? The budget gap is 67,000.
Correct.
So is that something that's doable?
Yeah, that would be probably a bit more than those two categories. So
Right.
I'd want to just check with our finance person, but maybe we could put in a revised budget if that was the amount you were looking to reduce.
Other questions? Yes.
So I'm just asking stuff, so I just want to make sure I understand, trying to get my brain to look at this graph, so they're asking for 256 for B6 in this spreadsheet, right? That is eating up most of the money in that bucket, when we had 200 folks that had requested money last year, that might be coming forward again.
Not if it's reduced by that 67.
But the 67,
It would just be a matter of moving it.
but the B6 for 256, if they reduce it, even if they reduce it by the other amounts, that was in the other categories. And we know we had some of our equity groups of the Epi-Evics and La Familia who might come back asking for similar amounts, so that would be another over 100,000 that might be requested in that category, and then we would have to.
Yeah, if you're not wanting to move in between the buckets that have already been decided, then yes, absolutely, that's the case. But just know that you can, as long as it doesn't go over that 67,000, there's still movability.
Got
Maybe I think-
it. Does have a raise. Oh, Trustee Youngman, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a little concerned and would like to have a little bit more information on this treatment and recovery at 256. What was your amount last year you requested under that B.6 bucket?
183.
Okay. Yeah, I don't feel comfortable going that much over the almost that 67,000. I would be more apt to reduce that out of the B6, but Yarrow Collective, you're stating that you would take it out of which areas if you weren't granted? If you needed to take 67,000 out of your budget, where would you go?
We would probably go in the D4 or 5 category and the K1 category. Though we could work on a revised budget in other categories if you all prefer.
Okay. Yeah, I just, I'll stop and let the mic go on. But I'm not comfortable going to that 360,000.
Thank you, Trustee.
And again, really great work. We're just getting into I'm in this space in all things right now. If I don't know if staff can help us at the end of this, when we look at like H9 and B6, you know, that how much that is. I know it's on this side, but if we think these are all coming back, we'll be way overspent in like already 2 buckets, which is 3 presentations.
To answer your question, I do believe in John. John has this electronically. You could move numbers around, correct, at the end of this, and share your screen?
Yeah, but I don't, I mean, you'd have to tell me where you're gonna take it from.
Right.
I mean, yeah,
But you could, we could see.
we could certainly do that.
Okay, that's an option.
And I just want to caution that this is only for the possible 10 or more, and so we would have to,
That's,
I'm not trying to be a challenge here, it just.
No, you're
but
not.
my,
That's-
this is me,
that's
you know,
why it's
my head's
important
spinning.
for all folks that are from next month. We need to stick within this, because once we get out of that, it does move, upsets the whole apple cart. So Rupa, I thought I saw your hand.
Yeah, but then I changed my, so you're saying that it upsets the whole apple cart if we move buckets, or just if we go over the 3,059,000?
Yeah, I think what happens is if we have one where we weren't, or we were at a certain subcategory, let's say we're at 100,000, also 180, that way we're gonna have to find it somewhere else, but does that impact 2 other entities that they're in that subcategory? So then it opens up that we're gonna have to listen to everybody first to know how many in each category is that, because if you're taking from one to cover another one, that could impact another person's work.
The problem isn't moving the buckets, the problem is we're taking it from someone else.
Thank you.
Okay.
Because
Because it's based off last year's same percentages.
Oh,
That were all specifically allocated.
okay.
And same number of people being given the money.
Actually,
So we could definitely move
potentially
buckets
two
and we're
more.
saying
Could be
this
2 more.
bucket's more important this year.
Right,
But-
yeah, and I guess for my,
Yeah, we're
and
saying
maybe
another
this is
plus.
way oversimplifying it, but for me, as long as we don't go over the 3,059,000.
No, that's
Correct.
that is simple. That's
And
correct.
it's like, as conditions change in the world, and they're like, and our nonprofits are seeing that there's needs in other categories. I guess that's why I'm less concerned about sticking to like specific percentages and buckets, because to me, they're the subject matter experts, and they're seeing there's more need in one thing or the other. That's how I'm seeing it.
And I agree with you, that's a simple part, but already you see 2 buckets that are within 3 presentations, almost double what's allocated with my head. And so we're gonna have to move almost a whole category, either it's gone, or we're gonna have to lower the amounts in others. And I'm not sure, I feel comfortable moving it all into 2, because we might move it all in by the end of this thing, move it into 4 buckets only because of these categories, potentially. Which is, if that's what the council wants to
It's less
do.
this year, everyone's gonna have more needs because of.
No, I understand,
Yeah.
but that's why I think Heather did the work of reducing everybody's proposal amount to 67, like by 67,000, for example, if Yarrow budget. So for me, as long as we're not approving 360, but we're approving 360 minus 67, and they get to figure out which buckets they want to put it in. Like,
Oh, yes, but the problem there, or the challenge there, I should say, is they are wanting to move it into another subcategory where it's already, there's 2 other grantees that they would like to max that out.
And they already maxed out that bucket.
We're back to it, taking it out, there's more money.
no, I get it, but,
Yeah.
okay, we can keep going, because it's already 310.
Yes. So that's why I was thinking maybe we need to share if we can.
Sure.
But anyway, so I'm not trying to make this harder, I'm just trying to do the
No.
least amount of shuffling we have to do.
Yeah, if I might say, like, as a grantee, it's a little hard to predict, like, what, and I know it's hard for you all to predict too, like, what requests are going to come in each category. And like, we're more than happy to like adjust what we're doing or how it's categorized. So if you want to come back with us and say, here's the overall amount that we would approve and our preferences of how it could be split up between the categories, we can crunch some numbers and just see how we can like try to meet you all with the other requests that are coming in.
Wonderful, thank you. Any more questions for the Yarrow Collective and the great work there? Yes.
Yeah, I think there was a idea to get feedback on the
Oh,
other stuff.
thank you. So the Butler,
Evaluation.
would that be something you folks would be interested in participating in?
Yeah, we've I think had 2 meetings with them that were supportive and just like taking an overall look at our evaluation pieces. We do have someone on staff who like helps us with a lot of evaluation, Shannon Hughes, who a lot of you know. So we probably wouldn't need quite as technical assistance as maybe other grantees would need. But the couple of meetings we had felt supported.
So would you do 3 more in what they proposed? A 90-minute, there were 3 different touch points that they presented.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can we ask real quick?
Yeah,
The previous one.
sorry, Colorado Health Network, would that be something you'd be interested in? Thumbs up.
Done deal.
Wonderful.
Nice, 2 out of 2.
2 out of 10, though. Thank you for the reminder.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you. Appreciate your patience with us as well. Okay, the next one, the Northern Colorado Health Network, I have disclosed in the past that I do serve on their board of directors. So at this point, to avoid any potential conflicts of interest, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Vice Chair Commissioner Shetty McNally, and I'll excuse myself. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, everyone. So we'll have the North Colorado Health Alliance come up and welcome to present.
Right, so we kept our slides pretty simple, and I will fill in any questions and gaps you have. Ultimately, the biggest change with our proposal is the amount of money and the way it is spread out across multiple buckets rather than the one category of the J3 as previously requested by the AG's office, but worked with Janelle and team to figure out how we do that differently so we can have more specific funding tied to our budgets. So ultimately, our proposal holds a few different categories. Can you scroll for me? Cool, thank you. And they fall into four big buckets. Care coordination and support for treatment and recovery. This is our care coordinators who are co-located across the county, supporting people moving across our systems to maintain engagement in their care. Folks are making sure that they have the things that they need along the way, reducing barriers, and ultimately that program has demonstrated robust success over the course of its existence, but this last year demonstrated increases in quality of life. Folks reporting 61% at intake saying their life was pretty okay. 81% at 6 months saying this is better. And seeing decreases in substance use from 28% down to 30%, using that at that regular interval. And a lot of that will be held in our final reports. We don't want to dig too far in because you'll get that in just a few months, but also seeing improvement in mental health and suicidality and depression as folks are able to manage their health and their treatment recovery journeys. They're just better overall. And so great to see those initial outcomes come forward. That's under B1, is the category that felt most appropriate. Really just giving folks that connected care person to walk alongside them in their journey. G2 is really capturing that Changing Minds campaign that supports stigma reduction throughout the community. The healthcare is a subcontract for that work. And really just continuing to maintain and improve that campaign over time. We've decreased that budget over time with the health district, then increasing their allocations to those funds as well. Peer recovery support, this goes hand in hand with B1, but for the categories, we had to divide it up. So we do have a peer recovery specialist who supports our care coordinators. Yes, navigation, but also a buddy is really the goal there. And then K1 is community and provider education. So this really holds community-based substance use education, large-scale awareness events, and then our provider education for peer recovery coach training and the annual conference. Scroll for me. Heather, stop me. Oh, it's Jody. I'm sorry, Jody. It's Tom. It's Tom. Oh, gosh. I live here and here, and you are the answer. I am so sorry. Third time's a charm. So these are the individual breakouts of those budgets by category, and so this would be that B1 category, G2. Proceed. There's a summary that's probably easier to read, so here we go. C10, and then K1. And the next slide, my friends, has the by category summary slide. To make sure we were showing the delineation across these buckets and ready for any questions you may have. Trying to be speedy.
You were under 5, but we'll go with questions. I would request we go down, back up a slide
Yes.
to the that one right there for right
This
now.
one's a big one.
Okay, so that's a big one. So any questions for Jay? We online?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest question would be, it looks like the budget gap is around 27,000. So how would you make that adjustment?
Well, my original structure that we were working off of was that big slide. That was color coordinated by category. And our category had the 450 to push across these different budgets. Ultimately, we would have to do cuts across to pull 27 out. Because we have based these numbers off of previous experience running these events, and so I have to do a redo on our budget.
Anybody else? Because I have questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, fantastic work. This is just me trying to get my head wrapped. This is the way we have to do this, which is fine. So we don't have the actual spreadsheet. B1 would be a new category for 256, which would be, we'd have to change, which is, again, I know that's something we can all talk about and approve. But the training K1, we know that we just had a previous presenter asked for 10,000, and that one only had right now, looking at, at 493, which this would put it over, 110,000, 100,000. So, but I know they said they would change. So I just, again, just pointing out, this would have to be, and I see why why that's there for the training. So I just want to point that out, that would make that bucket fuller. So, and I know it's back there, but that would be something for the end. Just pointing that out, but this obviously, this increase is because.
Well, it's actually a decrease from last year's.
Last year's,
but for your spreadsheet that you're looking at, we were all under one category as J3, and that's
so that's
where-
why, we were to J3, okay.
And then you have to add that, that's at the request of the COAG.
Yeah.
So that wasn't.
Okay,
just
so
us
that's,
looking at it.
so that's 493. Okay, that's helpful, that's what you were trying to say before, that's, all right.
And Jared already moved it into.
Well, so this is upsetting the apple cart, okay? When the COAG came and said, we want to reallocate all of these, then that kind of ruins the ability to baseline off of 2025 and have it reflected in the 2026 categories. So while it may look like NCHA's request is overwhelming some of the approved amounts in the categories, what's actually happening is J3 and some other reallocations are just throwing that off. So John's simplified version that he and I both collaborated on and looked at, and Janelle helped as well. Like that's kind of the best estimate of what it would look like to spend in those categories, the same way we did in 2025, but with the changes that the COAC requested.
That helps, but I don't know where training fits in.
Training, I believe it's a K, so that would be in, yes, the purple.
Yeah, but if training is K1, right?
Correct.
But there's only 11,000.
But that's not we can't really reflect off that anymore because the COAC asked us to reallocate. So the bigger categories are the only ones that have any sort of
Okay,
viability there. So if you wanted to think about this differently, and we could do this for another time, is putting every request within those broad categories on that front page, as opposed to the specific subcategories on the subsequent page.
yeah, I'm trying to make this super harder, but I'm really worried about musical chairs.
Same,
Yeah.
same, and I wish we had a little more
No.
of a heads up from the AG's office, really
Yeah,
to
no,
set us up for
that seems like
success.
advice.
But we didn't get that, and
No,
so
it's
we gotta do our best
It's
as a
not
team.
your grantees, it's just for us having to understand. But we're having to fundamentally really shift how we do this, but, so
Completely
a question about, would you be willing to participate?
Yes, yes, if we can get the grantees to do the darn thing as a collective, then I think we'll have the biggest impact, and so we're happy to push on.
Thank you, any other questions?
Just to comment that I appreciate hearing as we wind one thing down, we have a partner who winds that same service up. And I think that does, from my perspective, make the case for the collective impact research with Butler, the collective impact evaluation, because then as grantees are looking across and having to make these hard decisions, they can start talking to each other. Who can maybe take on some additional capacity in one area if we have to cut a budget in another? Because I think just slowly chipping away I would then want to know from grantees, if we're slowly chipping away at your budget, what is getting eroded in your quality of your program? And at what point then have we compromised the quality so much that it doesn't make sense to try to spread the money this far? And we should look at spreading it deeper. So I think that's the hard question that I feel like we're sort of wrestling with. And at a certain point, we're gonna hit that breaking point and we're gonna need the evaluation to be able to guide what happens next.
You said so well, and that's where I'm going with all of this. I'm worried because if we're gonna put all the money in the two buckets and shrink that, that's fine, but I'm just still, the only way I can say this is musical chairs. I'm just worried. And so, but thank you for that. And I think, and again, I'm not trying to really keep hammering on this, but it just.
Yeah, it's very confusing, and the categories we've all been ready to run through are not the ones that they want us to. And so we gotta figure out how we shift. So,
Okay, and know that we're trying to do the best we can. So thank you for your understanding. Okay,
here for it.
unless there's other questions, we're gonna bring Tom back in and continue. So let's have Red Point come up because we're almost out of time.
Did you ask MJ if they would?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right.
There you go. And I said yes, so we're
Good. Red Point.
3-3, 4-4. Okay.
Red Point Center. Thank you for being here.
Meet everybody. I'll try to keep it incredibly brief. Okay, so we are requesting at North Point Center to the same amount as we did for our last grant term to continue to strengthen Larimer County recovery services. So we are a substance abuse and mental health treatment, outpatient treatment facility. We serve multiple different locations across the Front Range, but obviously this is specifically for Larimer County folks. We do have a location in Fort Collins and then also have virtual services for our folks that are outside of the city. So if you wanted to move to the next slide. So happy to go into any amount of detail you would like. Just wanted to give a brief overview of what we do offer. The services, so partial hospitalization, intensive outpatient and outpatient levels of care. The things that are included in those treatment programs are going to be, we do have medical and psychiatric care and MAT services available for our clients. Individual therapy as well as group therapy. Our approaches include, but aren't limited to, DBT, CBT, EMDR. We're doing case management, trauma recovery, 12-step education, all kinds of things. So I want to keep it brief, but we can come back to that if you want any detail about what all is encompassed. If you want to move to the next slide as well. The level of care and cost structure. So we do work with many different types of private insurance as well as Medicaid. And then also we work with clients who are either underinsured, meaning they can't afford their deductible out of pocket, or maybe they don't have insurance at all. So being able to provide equitable services to groups of folks that maybe wouldn't historically have been able to get services has been great. We've been able to do that with our previous funding as well. The partial hospitalization program, this is for folks that are at highest acuity. So the structure of that is going to be 25 hours of group therapy and an hour individual per week. And then for the intensive outpatient, it's a little bit, it's a step down essentially for folks that maybe have a little bit more stabilization but still need support. And then our outpatient program is available as a step down from either just for our IOP program. So if people go through this one, then they can continue on in the outpatient program. Really, our goal is to provide wraparound care and support as they reintegrate back into daily life without 9 hours of group therapy. And then there is the cost that is the standard cost, and then what we reduce for any grantees to receive care with us, so that we are a reduced fee for people to engage there through this grant. You can go on to the next one. Okay, so the projected impact with the 150 grand and funding, we anticipate serving approximately 38 clients with varying degrees of either, as I said, underinsured or uninsured folks with an average cost of about $4,000 per client. And that could be any combination of those levels of care. We do an assessment prior to folks entering in with us to see exactly what would be the most beneficial for their particular case, their particular circumstances. So reduce barriers for underinsured and uninsured clients, as I've mentioned, improve treatment, engagement, and retention, and strengthen family support systems. We also reduce relapse risk and emergency utilization as well through this. Happy to go through all of our objectives as well if there's time, but want to kind of stop there and see what you'd like from me since I want to run the short on time.
Thank you. Questions?
So with our new process and having to adjust, your application would be about almost 9,000 over. Would that be something that you could still adjust and?
And I'm sorry, you said 10,000?
8,964,000.
Yeah.
So there's maybe one less client or something.
Sure, yeah, because ours is all in one bucket, of just being able to provide services to folks. So absolutely, that you could adjust there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions?
And then just the question of participants.
Sure. Not seeing any. Would you first participate in the Butler?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. All right. Thank you for that. Okay, folks. We have 2 minutes. I don't think that would be worthy of a good conversation. So I got a couple options. We can extend the meeting if all we keep all members by 15 minutes, or we can say we're going to have to table all this and reconvene in March. So I'm open to what committee would, because I've got the time.
I have to leave it like that.
10 minutes?
I have 15, yeah. And my next meeting's here, so.
Those online?
I can give 15 more minutes.
Yep, same here.
Okay. We'll try to do it fast. You would have to leave at 10 minutes.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll make that motion, sir.
Okay.
To extend by 15 minutes. Second.
There's a motion, a second. Anybody oppose that? Hearing none, we're good. We'll extend the meeting to 3:45. We've gone through these 5, and I don't know, John, if we potentially could put up the bigger buckets, because I think this, if we start talking numbers.
Okay.
How would we like to go about this? We do have Butler Institute. We just table that one first to listen to our other grantees we have. We got their feedback and it was a home run. Or at least batting 100%.
Well, I really do believe that they've made a really good point that we need to have the feedback and have them talk about if we're starting to erode and there's a point, and I have been on a human services group commission for the city of Oakland where we, at a certain point where there's a certain amount where you only fund them at 50%, I can't do the work. So I think that would be good to know. And also, if maybe they can co-apply for some of the money and work together on a project, I don't know, might bring some collaboration. So I just think, hearing that the grantees didn't seem to even pause or have any concerns, I really think in the long run, I would love to have something happen, but I still worry, I think we might need I'm hoping that Amy Butler might look to maybe shorten a year and a half. I think we would really need this tool for next year.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Mason.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I personally, from my perspective, I would be fine today to, and I'm looking at my individual worksheet here. I would be fine to approve all of the grantees that we've got up here at the percentage of, at the 2026 funded at the 2025% levels. The two biggest ones that obviously that's going to impact are going to be NCHA and Yarrow Collective, it looks like. So I guess my question for those two grantees would be, you know, if NCHA, obviously they're requesting 450, if they can do it for 423, it does not matter to me too much that the larger overall scope of the buckets are going to be moved around a little bit. I think the grantees know what it is that they need to be able to do. So if those things, you know, as far as the council's overall goals need to shift a little bit, I don't have too much of a problem with that. It's really much more of a concern that, you know, obviously NCHA would be missing out on almost 26K here, and Yarrow would be missing out on the 67. So again, I'd be fine to approve at the percentage of the what was the 2025 levels. But I think all of the grantees are going to have to tighten their belts a little bit, especially if we are thinking that all of the other grantees are going to come back as well. Either that or we're going to have to start making big decisions about cutting some things out.
Thank you. I appreciate that feedback. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Mason. I appreciate that. And thank you for this kind of moment. I just think I want to clarify. You're saying 2025, is that the same thing as we have in our spreadsheet about the proposed budget allocation only amount?
So I think what he would be suggesting is that we look at not what's in a category, but what the awardee's prior contract was. So if, for example, an awardee was awarded $500,000, they would be awarded 94% of that $500,000.
Is that correct, Mayor Pro Tem Mason?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like I said, I know obviously Yarrow, it looks like that would be the biggest impacting too, because they've got that, they've requested the 360, 926 this year, and we would be approving essentially 294, 025. If their program can get along with that, I'd be fine to do it. Otherwise, like I said, we're going to have to start really tightening the belt.
Oh, Amy, your hand is up.
I agree with Mayor Pro Tem Mason, except for I am very still much on the edge about the Butler Center and the value. The value is there, but can we get the participation, especially as these organizations face federal cuts and have less capacity? That's the one I'm most concerned about. It's a great idea, but is this really going to give us information to make decisions in the future based on more information than what we have at the 6-month and the year reviews and things? So that's the only one that I would be concerned about at this time.
Thank you for that, Amy. And Commissioner.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Amy, but I still go back to Vanessa. They have a really hard conversation about what level are they going to have to certainly drop services or pull back. And I think we need to have that information. And then as a council, talk about what our priorities are. And I appreciate Mayor Pro Tem Mason's suggestion about the 2025. It's a little more easy for me to think about it in that bucket. But I still go back that we would have to look as a council about training and the H9 that we're going to have to, because we have probably at least another 4 or 5 applications coming. We might want to also put money in that bucket. So we just would know we probably need to think about that area would have to be more, so we might, I just think as we go forward, we might just need a spreadsheet with graphs about where the buckets are. Does that make sense? Or we have some new buckets, so I'm a visual person, and so that's just something like that. But I can be comfortable if we just approve them with the percentage decrease from the 2025.
Rupa?
Yes, I agree with Mayor Pro Tem.
So does anybody want to make a motion?
If that's his motion, I'll second it.
Mayor Pro Tem Mason, let's make sure that's a motion, a clear motion that you made.
Yeah, I would make a motion to approve all of the grantees that we've met with today at the 2026 funded at 20-25% level. Does that make sense?
How about if the same reduction as the overall budget for 2026 compared to 2025? So that would be from the approximately 3.5 million to the about 3 million. And so that percentage drop, we take that percentage drop and we apply it to the contracts from the prior year.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Trustee Youngland does have her raise.
Okay, we've got a motion. Do we have a second?
That was my second.
We do have a motion and a second. Do you have that clear motion? Just making sure. Okay, great. Now opportunity for conversation, and I hear Trustee Youngland's hand is up.
Thank you. So would we be requesting each of the grantees to, they don't have to present it to us, but supply us then with the altered amounts in the buckets, then with their, if this passes, their allocation that was given to them? How, otherwise, are we gonna just put the funds in whatever bucket? Or, I think we need to know from them what they're going to want to do.
If I'm hearing the motion right, thank you for the clarifying question, Trustee Youngland. Mayor Pro Tem Mason is saying just approving the overall conception of that based upon the 26 reduction, and that they would need to come back with whatever that final budget is, because that would have to be adjusted. Is that correct, Mayor Pro Tem? I do not want to put words in your mouth.
Yes, no, that's absolutely right. As far as the overall buckets, yes, those would most certainly change. But what I'd be looking at is, I don't know if everybody's got that spreadsheet in front of them that we had been sent yesterday, but essentially Butler we'd be approving for 70,503. NCHN we'd be approving for 416,399. Yarrow we'd be approving for 294,025. Red Point would be 141,036, and NCHA would be 423,109. And it might be worth hearing from, if we've still got Yarrow in the room, it might be worth hearing from them. That's a pretty big hit from the 369.26 that they've requested. So my question, I suppose, might be, is 294,025 even close to hitting their mark? How does that look? Yeah.
Would you mind coming so we get
We would make it work, yeah.
I heard they will make it work. So thank you for that question. All right, any further conversation questions? Hearing none. All those that support the motion signal by yes or yay.
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 Aye. Yay.
Anybody oppose the motion? Hearing none, that passed unanimously. Now
So do we want to have the actual allocations we brought back for the March meeting from the grantees?
Yes, that's what I heard. So we will absolutely do that. So we'll meet with each one of them and get them to do that for us before the next meeting. Okay, we have got 5 minutes left. There's 2 other action items. I know action item 6, you were going to give us an update. Can I just, is it okay with the committee to move to 6 real quick to get a 30-second update?
Yep, it'll be 30 seconds. So as a reminder, so what we're looking at is the October 2025 reimbursement that the sheriff's office received from the council. And at the previous meeting, the council approved our attorneys minus Lerner County's attorneys to take a look at that contract to see if there was an issue. So my brief update is, and this is on Fort Collins, we haven't started that work yet. But from my understanding with the sheriff's office, they would also like to be represented, which I think is completely fair. So our attorney is working to see who that attorney representative can be to be at the table. And then hopefully I can have something more substantial to present in March to this council.
Rupa, thank you for that update. Thank you for any questions on that. Hearing none. Item 5, you've been working on that, Commissioner.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I started sharing, so, and so Marshall, this kind of helps with impact reviews. As you know, we moved to having 2-year terms with, I'm sorry, I've got just all these screens, so forgive me for that. Oops, I need to do that. But here is an application that I didn't get I had trouble get the whole, what's the word I'm looking for, the, I don't know why that's doing that, I apologize. But I have an application, it's not sharing. I guess I need to pick the other one. Sorry, I'm trying to get that to do that. But there's an application, and it's very similar to what we had the first time. As you can see, it has kind of the application, the introduction of what this is, contact. I just left that blank for now. Eligibility and experience, and some questions, and have them write with some maximum words about why they want to be involved and relevant community input. Are you available for quarterly meetings? Are you willing to review materials such as, reports and proposals, confidentiality and ethics, and then would you agree to follow the code of conduct and sign the agreement, which is something we added. And then it would, we could just say submission, and then we get back to you with an interview. We had done that before. And so it's pretty straightforward, and just be able to get this out to folks who might want to recruit. And then, as we talked about, 2-year terms, but go ahead and have everyone reapply or ensure their intent. So I'm sure Marshall will be more than happy to do that. And then I also wanted to share that I have the old, where is it? I have the old questions and the old spreadsheet, and I have moved it over so you can't see who the last previous names are. And so here it is. But it has I have all the questions that we have before. So if we want to do interviews, we have the same questions. And all of this we can put back on the spreadsheet, so we wouldn't have to recreate that. And so this is really nice to have, and we could have that, we have that from previously, we could have and build onto that. So if no one has any objection to the application, and maybe Janelle and those who are technically more capable than I am today, if you are all open to that, I think it'd be great to go ahead and start getting that application out, which is this one. If you look that up again. And I just wanted to see if we could kind of move forward so we could get that kind of started, so we can recruit some more folks with lived experience, and appreciate Marshall being here today. Any questions or concerns with the application, or do you want me to send it to you so you can?
Questions, comments? Marshall, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
We went through this last time with the application, the interviews. I think it's a great idea. I would like to see more people who are fairly new to recovery as advisory members. I mean, I'm coming on 5 years now. I would like to see people 2 years, because they have more of a perspective of what's going on out there versus what I do now. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, yeah, I did. Now I'm a little further back from that lifestyle. So it's a little harder for me to be like, oh, this is what's needed. These are the areas we need to concentrate on. So.
Wonderful feedback, thank you. Any other, and Commissioner is looking for direction here. So any direction for her? Yes, Marshall.
So when, if I fill out the application again, would it be another 2 years? Okay, sorry.
Anybody want to make a motion to move this process along?
Trustee Young.
Trustee Younglin, I can't see that your hand is up.
That's all right. I was gonna make a motion to
Great.
accept this application and move forward with it.
There's a motion. We have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
We have a motion, and a second. Any further conversation? Hearing none. Anybody oppose that motion? Hearing none, that passes unanimously. I do appreciate you taking that on because that is very important. Thank you for your feedback, Marshall. All right, we are at that point.
I just would like to say, I did this before, I would be happy to lead this again, and anybody interested to be on the interview committee, I can get all the places and who to contact. I would assume it would be Heather or who to contact to say. And then you all can have the application that if you have someone that you feel like would be a good person to have fill out, we can have this send out in March, maybe start interviewing in April and in May, so we could get moving. So unless there's an objection to that, I'll clean that up and get that to Tom and Heather. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Is that all right with anybody object to that?
I'm not seeing any objection. All right.
Thank you all.
Anybody would like to move to adjourn the meeting?
I just have one quick, I'm sorry I'm not there. I just want to say thanks again. This is my last meeting.
Oh, I thought you had one more meeting. I'm sorry.
No, I will be off the board before you guys meet again. So I've thoroughly enjoyed the time, as I said last time, and hopefully you won't see the last of me.
Well, we're a wonderful member of Common. Yes, we will look forward to working with you in other capacities, other spaces.
Yes, thank you.
Well, why don't you adjourn the last meeting that you'll be at, if you don't mind?
Okay, I motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second that.
We got anybody oppose that motion? Great work, everyone. I know it's a lot of work. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, trustee.